Good afternoon. I'm here with my guest poet, man of theater, librarian, David Miller. How are you doing tonight, David?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine, Doc.
Great to come on this cold night.
Yeah,
I don't think you've ever been on Poet to Poet.
No. I'm very glad to be invited. I haven't.
By the way, this Friday at 6 p.m. there's going to be a reception, for the small press collection at
Somerville Public Library.
Somerville
right?
Public Library
Yeah.
that Tim Devon, a friend of yours,
Devon,
created, and we're very grateful for that. But anyway, so I hope you can come. I plan to be here. David P. Miller had a chapbook published by our Somerville Savannah Barva Press, Afterimages. He's had poems in many places: Ibbotson Street, Fresh Broth, Bagel Bard's Anthology, Wilderness House Literary Review, and he also has a new book coming out from Nixes Mate.
Yeah, it'll be next fall, so the fall of 2019.
What's that about? Maybe we could discuss that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. It's a poetry collection, but yes, it'll be coming out this
fall. And you were involved in an origami poems project.
Early on, I had a couple of what they call micro chapbooks from the Origami Poems Project. That was a very sweet thing to be doing. Yeah.
Now I see that you were influenced by John Cage, and but I didn't know he was a poet. I know he's a composer and all that.
Right. Well, there's a whole. We could do an hour on that topic, and we don't want to do a whole hour on that topic, but. Yes, Cage actually was a poet, and in fact, maybe even less well known than that. In his last years of his life, he was very active as a visual artist too. My influences from John Cage mostly come in my life as a performance artist. The influence in my poetry writing is very indirect, although. The kind of experimental poetry that he did, similar to that of the late Jackson Maclow, they sometimes seep into how I hear language. Let's say.
But he was a minimalist, if I'm not mistaken.
He did all kinds of things.
But he was known as a minimalist.
He was known. What he was most famous for was that one piece called 4 minutes 33 seconds, in which a musician. A musician up to an entire orchestra, actually, to put it this way, deliberately does not create any sound for that period of time. But on the other hand, I was just listening the other day to a recording of a piece, a late work of his, called 103 or 103, which is a 90-minute work for an orchestra of 103 musicians. And that's sort of nothing minimalist about it.
Okay. And there's nothing minimalist about your poems.
No, I don't intend to write that way. Yeah. No, as I say, the Cage influence comes more for me in the kind of, let's put it this way, the kind of attentiveness to the details of specific kinds of phenomena that you see in John Cage's work if you spend time with it, far beyond the minimalist piece that he wrote. Anyway. Yeah.
I was going to ask you. You've been a librarian. You've written about you worked for Mobius. You worked in Mobius for many years, an experimental arts group. Now you're on the board of directors
for Mobius.
The whole circle is coming now.
It is. It's true.
And but what jumpstart you in poetry was you went to a workshop with Jane Hirschfeld. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a really interesting thing. I've been an active poetry reader, an active daily poetry reader since about 1990. I mean, I've been a poetry reader my whole life, but around 1990, I started bringing it every day into my life. But I didn't think of myself as a poet, particularly. I certainly didn't think of myself as someone who's going to be writing poems fairly steadily, So in 2006, there was a workshop at the Zen Mountain Monastery, which is in the Catskills in New York. And I was on their mailing list, and I'd never been there. And I was curious to spend like a weekend workshop there. And then in the brochure, there's Jane Hirschfeld, the poet, and I'd read some of her poetry, offering a weekend workshop. And I thought, well, this will be interesting. It's like, I don't think this is something that I do, but I'd like to meet Jane Hirschfeld. I'd like to go to the Zen Mountain Monastery. So anyway, I went, and it changed me only in this way, but it was crucial in that, we did some sample poems. She gave us some exercises. We did some serious Zen meditation, not with her, but, as part of the weekend. But the point is that out of this workshop, by God, I'd written some poems. Now, here, in 2018, I'm just going to leave them in the files. They're
Beginning shit.
They're beginning, exactly,
stuff, yeah.
exactly, just beginning stuff. But the point is that I did it. And I said, maybe I actually could keep doing this. And so that, I would call that the turning point, yeah. Now it took...
She must have been a good enough teacher that it would compel you to do it.
Sure. And I also had whatever ability I had to do at least a basic response to the prompts that she gave. So anyway, it took another couple of years after that, about 3 years I'd say, before I started writing poems more steadily, But that was the point where I said, this actually could be something that I could choose to do and have, yeah. Yeah, so that was big. That was big,
okay.
yeah.
Now, we were talking about how you're, yeah, right. You took there was I was doing Robert Penske's The Shirt, and I was talking about, and I used one of your poems, which I really like, The House. Because I never read Robert Penske's The Shirt.
Oh, yes,
yes.
Yeah.
And I thought you did the same thing with The House in a way. You broke it down.
I sent, that's one that I think I sent to you, right?
Yeah, and so I printed it out, and I said, here's a good example. I like Robert Penske's The Shirt. It breaks it down on all the component parts, all the experiences around it.
Yes.
Tendrils go up from it. Yeah.
The poem that you're thinking of, I have it with me. It's the
Why don't you
poem.
read it to us?
All right, I'll do
the
this.
First one. Yeah.
It's titled From a House, and it has to do with my house that I own and live in. My wife and I live in Jamaica Plain, on Mozart Street in Jamaica Plain, and I looked...
Mozart Street.
How about that, huh?
Yeah, how about that?
It's true, Mozart Street. And I looked into the chain of ownership. Who owned the house? Who lived in the house? The city directories through much of the 20th century.
And if you remember the Shirt poem by Penske, he went into the workers who made it, people in the cotton field, the Asian sweatshop workers, the Triangle Shirt Factory, and in the same way you do this. But
well, let's see. It's a little different, but I know what you mean. Okay, so this is titled From a House. I come from a house built within whiff of breweries now court, set at the crotch of a valley whose brook now runs within tubes. House, laughing with tailors, machinists, and trainmen, brooding with knitters, waiters, furniture movers, birthday full of chauffeurs and iron workers, vacated by painters, insurance clerks, stagehands. I come from a house traded and kept by Doyle, Ryan, Daly, multiple Murphys, by Zuber and Zwerdling, doorbelled with Jaime, Rosado, Vasily, rent fretted by Baez, Kirikhaus, Van Looy, trudged home and paced overhead by Dugan, Rodriguez, Solcida, where homecomers shook off their days of National Shawmut, Somerset Hotel, Frank's Lunch, Chimes brownies, wafted their dinners, or scooped them from cans. I come from a house where I came to my she out of thin air, my karate heroine, siren of newspaper personals. I come from a house of quadruple mortgages when flappers verged on breadlines. A house whose glass eyed Downy Flake donuts, house-shilled distilled spirits, Roxbury mattress. A pox, after that, of emptying lots. I come from a house bought out from under city condemning, its price nailed to the porch, upper third hollowed of walls and pipes. A house with decades of martial art foot landings, massaged hard into blonde polish, that held itself free from sparks of the torched mattress, nay, stringed instrument factory. The lot's palimpsest soil turned up tubes of catgut. I come from a house with bedroom carpeted floor to ceiling, a flipped shower where cold is code word for hot. A house where four now go out and come back, and a homebody mouse. Surprised in the kitchen, it dives down a burner. A house rooted on thickness of pudding stone. A house that shares the water of earth in its basement. A house that stirs in its sleep with the passage of night trains. Yeah, so that's...
Now, you were in... you were a librarian for a number of years.
Retired
at Curry,
this summer.
Curry,
Yeah.
just retired recently at Curry College.
Curry College.
And so was that a natural place for you to be stimulated as a poet? Or, I mean, since you were around a lot of books and poetry and things like that.
Well, certainly, it was great to have access to what was in the library, and I did help the circulation of poetry books a lot personally by checking them out.
Actually,
and
you put a
reading.
few of ours in there. Maybe,
Yes, yes. Oh, yes, we have a few there. Pardon me. I think though the poetry, the library connection is a little more circuitous. I majored in theater. I was my undergraduate degree was in theater, and
Why didn't you ever? I mean, you did pursue it, on one level, but you never went all.
I never intended to pursue it professionally. Even when I was college age, I knew that I frankly didn't have the drive.
Yeah.
To do that kind of hard scrabble push that successful actors need to do. But I did want to study it, and it's been part of my life. But I got a bachelor's in theater, then I got a master's in theater from Emerson College in the mid-'80s, and then finally I asked myself,
what were you doing with it?
That was my question. I got the master's in...
Oh, but you got to. I mean, you must have been working at.
Oh, I had part-time jobs at the time. Yeah. I cobbled together a living at that point. But anyway, after I got the master's from Emerson, I said, okay, now what are you going to actually do for a living? And had to face the question kind of squarely. And a good friend of mine named Mary Curtin.
I know Mary, yeah.
Yeah,
PR person.
Yes. Well, she's a librarian too by background, though she hasn't worked in libraries for many years, but she was working at Emerson. And through her, I was able to get a job at the Emerson College Library. And anyway, that set me on my path. So, I've been also a library user all my life. So I'll tell you something. The first day that I was asked to do some reference desk work and someone asked me a question and I was able to answer it, it wasn't a hard question. I'm telling you, literally a chill went down my spine. I said, I'm actually doing this. It was amazing.
It was less complicated then also, wasn't it?
Yeah, although, well, depends. In my more recent years as librarian, as particularly reference materials have migrated almost exclusively online, I actually found that easier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was not a good reference librarian in the sense that I never really knew what was in all those many, many shelves of reference books. And so when reference work was done with print and someone had a reasonable question, I sort of internally would go, unless I happened to know, I would go like, where do I find that? Whereas if it's online, I know how to look for things. Anyway, but I retired in June, from Curry. It was good. I was there for 26 years.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I just retired from a job of mine. I'm still working, though, at other jobs.
That's right, but you retired from...
McLean Hospital.
From McLean, yeah.
Now, so I want you to read from your work. You do have a lot of time, actually, to read from your work.
Oh, we do. We have lots of time.
Yeah,
we can read and we can...
14 minutes, actually.
Well, we can read and we can discuss.
We can chat.
Yeah. So what I'm holding here is the rough, it's just my own personal printout of the content of the book that will come out next fall from Nixes Mate.
And Nixes Mate is in Alston, and he's doing a really great job. Him and Ann Pluto, and there's another gentleman involved, Michael McGinnis and Ann Pluto, and there's another gentleman.
Yeah.
You know his name? I forget.
I forget. It's mostly Michael that I know.
They're coming out with all kinds of books, quality.
They really are.
Yeah.
They do. That's one reason I'm very happy for many reasons, and one reason is that, I've gotten to know Michael. I know Ann a little bit. I know Michael better. But also, the quality of their production, I'm really impressed by.
Yeah.
So the title of the book is, unless it changes, but I don't want to change it. The title of the book right now is called "Sprawled Asleep," and I thought what I would do is find the poem, which includes that phrase. It's not the title of a poem, but it's inside a poem. The book's in 3 parts, and this poem is in the first part of the book. And it's titled Absolutely No Idea. Sorry, she grins to the young beard at her right after twice rolling toward him. Sorry. The beard smiles, doesn't mind her low, sleeveless, diaphanous whatever. Sorry to the dude with earbuds at her left after half leaning over his lap. Man, too, scowls toward the off-campus short shorts. You keep saying sorry. Her voice at her friend on the phone flows toward tears. Doesn't break, though. 1, 2 subway stops, 3. She half leans up each time, asks, where is this? Standee woman in front of her rides the car floor as if it were Tuesday not party night, which it is. Asks what sorry girl wants, where she's going, what exactly she's doing. Harvard Square she wants. The wrong line, wrong direction, wrong all of it. Out across the next station platform, having processed more than one verbal instruction, we hope. She, unrooted, too easily stripped by the eye. I want her parents, the backseat of their car, her, sprawled asleep in a drive home past her bedtime after ice cream.
You see the child.
The young woman, yeah, the college student, yeah, thanks, yeah.
But do you see her as a child, or
No, and that's the well.
She almost reverts back to the child.
In what I'm in, yeah. There, yes, exactly. I mean, it's this, and this was a real thing. This really happened. I was sitting across the aisle from her.
Let me tell you, I always find trains, and subways, and things in transit very fertile ground for writing poetry. Why do you think that is?
Because there's so much. Well, you know, it's interesting. There's you could say there's so much sort of human drama, but what's also true is that you rarely know more than a fragment of the story. You see this remarkable thing. In this case, I could find out a little bit because she had no idea where she was. Clearly no idea where she was. Somebody finally helped her out, and she's completely at sea. And she's undoubtedly a little drunk, you know, and vulnerable, and, you know, not, you know, I wouldn't say underdressed, but, you know, it was a very vulnerable situation. But anyway, that's all I knew, right? I didn't know the whole story. So yeah, I want her back 8 years old in the backseat of her parents' car, you know, going out. I just, of course, you know.
Oh, I thought she actually went.
No. That's what I want. I want to see it. I
it.
want to see that. I want to remember it. And, you know, and I'm going to hope and assume and trust that she made it okay. Yeah. I really hope so. But anyway, yeah, so you see partial things. You see these little moments, and then there's a story, and you don't know what the story is. But it's kind of a fascinating story. Let me read you another one. Let me read you another one like that. Hang on. Let me find it. Hang on. It is called, this one's called, actually, it's in the same part of the book. Okay. It's titled Blue Fingertips. Blue Fingertips. Out of the flood of high schoolers who saturate this bus wall to wall, a long, tall young woman, her hair gathered high overhead, plugs the gap next to me. She whips fast through Chinese flashcards done by hand, jabs the characters with her finger, moves her lips with each flip, flip, flip. Crams the deck inside a lime green box, stuffs the box in her backpack, rifles the pack for a book, grabs her pen. It's broken. She stares shocked at her wet blue fingertips, motions them about like new and strange things. The old guy at her side, me, hands her a wad of tissues. An olive-shaded woman across the aisle hands her a spare pen. The girl thanks us, begins furiously underlining her paperback of Brave New World. That's the story, you know, like what's happening?
Do you find now, as an older poet, that you're able to stand back more and be an observer, you know, outside the, you know,
It's an interesting question because what I'm thinking with that question is, you see, I was never a younger poet, right? Because I didn't. That workshop that I took, I was 51, and I didn't.
Youngster.
Well, I didn't really start writing seriously to my mid-50s, so I don't really have that.
Yeah,
that
you never were young.
I never really was a young poet. But at the same time, I think because I started writing more seriously about the age that I did, heading into the last part of middle age, right, that I probably look at issues of aging and especially mortality differently than if I were 20 years old and writing about aging and mortality. I think. I mean, it seems likely.
But if you had to write a letter to
Yeah.
a young poet, what might you say to him?
Wow. If I were writing a letter to a young poet, well, I wouldn't pretend to be Rilke, that's for sure. That'd be my downfall. Yeah, there's no copying that. I don't know. I don't know that I would know how to talk about questions of aging and mortality and so on with a younger poet. But I think what I would want to talk about is, and I alluded this to a little bit when I was talking about Cage earlier on, is the importance of specificity and specific observation and specific description. I'm not. My wife is a visual artist. I'm not a visual artist. So, for example, when I want to describe a color, sometimes it's okay just to say blue, but blue is blue, kind of. So sometimes I ask her, what would you call that color?
Right.
And sometimes that turns out to be a distraction, and I just go back to blue because a more specific name is too distracting. But anyway, I think that's what I would talk about. Is I would want to know if this person wanted to share his or her work with me. I think I'd want to know how's their observation. What are they assuming a lot about what they see, or are they trying to sort of not assume a lot about what they see? Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing I would talk about, but that's just off the top of my head. Yeah.
We've got about 6 minutes.
Oh, let's do some more then. Yeah, let's do a couple more. We should do a couple more. Let's do. Okay, let's switch up the mood a little bit, and this is a couple minutes. Yeah, we'll do 2 more poems. This has to do with sound, in part. Another poem about fireflies. We say, listen to the wind in the trees, but that is not the sound. What is the sound of a leaf moving? How many leaves in these after-dark silhouettes framed by highway horizon glow? I came to the porch because I heard a gentle rainfall, but it was not water mist against leaves. It was leaves against the movement of air. We cannot hear air, cannot hear 1, 2, 3 leaves change position. But this, sounding of in-drawn breath and tide drawn back across black volcanic pebbles, this we can hear. I came to the covered porch to be misted this July dusk, but there was not mist. There were pulsing tree trunks. There were events at the edges of my eyesight, and when I looked, they were bugs. Then there were more events that when I looked again became lights. I don't remember when I last saw fireflies, and I don't know if I will ever see them again. So stark, their yellow-white signals pull from deep in the road across the street and down the street, each in its own light point cycle, so many aerial lighthouses. Flash cycle nebula densing, the more I abandon eye focus. This erratic point cloud beneath tides of treetops, and me in the fade to black, secure in my simple irrelevance to all of it. Okay, let's find something else. Something else from.
I've got to be short because.
I know. Yeah. All right.
24, 45.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So let's do. Let us do. Actually, this one's about 2 minutes, and that should do us.
We might be under.
17, 20. Yeah, we should do.
We only have 25 now.
All right.
So we have 3 minutes.
All right, good. All right, let's do the first poem. This is the first poem in the manuscript, and then that'll probably wind it up.
Go ahead.
This goes back to my house, actually.
All right.
It's titled Third Story Roof Sitting. It's so geometrical up here. Our house is flat-topped. The other summits in view make a child's drawing of peaks. Wedge tops and gable triangles asphalt shingled in shades of charcoal, brick oven browns, forest greens scarred from exposure. Up above here, a panorama of three-sided tubes. 7 brick chimneys, sisters of 125 years, sit their squareness as sentinels. Sparrows speed by and lodge on a twig at my head height. Watch them breezing out on that limb. The landscape is pleasure, sidekicked with fear. Vertigo calls from the sudden edge. Without railings, this viewpoint is bordered by neck break. We've watched fireworks, shoveled snowdrifts paltry feet from the vacant air. The summer afternoon is empty. One dormer window, Venetian blind drawn. Over the turquoise bodega, another's tar beach with pergola, fence, lawn furniture, nobody out. Sounds of motor growl, tire chafe, imperative honks. I'm alone. Rubber roof spread warming my jeans with cloud-clustered green. The maple seed pendants and this solo seagull suspended.
So are you doing any readings or anything like that?
Yeah. December 12th at Outpost 186. There's a group of poets that have been taking a fall workshop with Kevin McClellan. And the final, essentially, session of the workshop is a group reading there at Outpost 186. So that's at 6:30, Wednesday, December 12th. That's coming right up.
Where's the Outpost again?
It's, 186 and a half Hampshire Street in Inman Square. So that's coming up right away, yeah.
Anything else?
Gee, not for readings that nope. My big news is being here with you, the Outpost reading, and my book next fall, and that's basically it. Yeah.
Do you still do any theater?
A little bit. At Curry College, I occasionally have been able to do work there, even though I did retire from there. But mostly it's poetry, mostly, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being on Poet to Poet, Writer to Writer.
Thank you, Doug. It's great. Yeah.